I didn't plan to be there past closing. That's what I keep telling myself, anyway. The words on the page had blurred into a gray hum, and the clock above the counter ticked louder than it should have. When she whispered it, "Stop pretending you're just reading," it wasn't an invitation so much as a mirror. I hated how easily she could see me. The place was a used bookstore tucked between a laundromat and a shuttered bakery, the kind that smells like dust and lemon oil. I worked the front desk 3 nights a week, finishing my degree between customers who drifted in like moths. She ran the back, cataloging, buying estates, fixing spines with careful fingers. Everyone called her Mara. No last name. She didn't need one. That night, rain kept tapping the windows like it wanted to come in. The shop felt smaller after 10, the lights dimmed to a soft amber that made the aisles look like corridors. I was at the long table with my notes spread out, pretending to study for a test I'd already postponed twice. She moved quietly behind me, the faint scrape of a ladder, the soft thud of a book set down just so. I didn't turn. I knew better than to make it obvious. Mara had a way of existing without apologizing for the space she took. She wore black most days, nothing flashy, but everything fit like it had been chosen with intention. When she leaned over a shelf, her sleeves slid back and showed thin lines on her wrists, old scars, or maybe just the map of a life that didn't explain itself. She asked direct questions and waited for real answers. If you dodged, she noticed. If you were honest, she didn't praise you for it. She just kept listening. "Still here," she said, not looking at me. "Still trying." I answered, and hated how young that sounded. She paused. I could feel it. The moment where something shifts, the air tightening a notch. Then she came around the table and took the chair across from me without asking. The chair legs complained softly. She glanced at my open book, the margins filled with notes that circled themselves like they were lost. "You've been on the same page for a while," she said. "I read slow." She tilted her head. The hum of the old fridge in the back seemed louder. The rain eased, like it was listening too. "You always do that. Sit here late. Like the room will help you decide." I shrugged. My hands tightened around the pen. "It's quiet." She reached out, not to me, but to the edge of my notebook, and straightened it. Our fingers brushed by accident, barely there, but the contact landed heavy. I pulled back too fast. She didn't. Her gaze flicked up, caught mine, held longer than necessary. That's when she leaned in, close enough that I could smell coffee on her breath, cold and a little bitter. Her voice dropped, not dramatic, just honest. "Stop pretending you're just reading." I laughed, too loud, and it echoed off the shelves. What else would I be doing? She didn't answer right away. She watched me, eyes steady, like she was deciding whether to tell the truth or leave it where it was. Then she stood, smoothed the front of her jacket, and said, "Lock up when you're done." I did. I locked the door, turned off the lights, and stood there in the dark longer than I needed to, replaying the brush of her fingers, the way she'd said it like she already knew the answer. The second time felt longer, like the room had learned us. It was after midnight again, but this time she asked for help. A delivery had come in late, 3 boxes left by the back door, damp at the corners from the rain. I followed her into the narrow aisle near philosophy, where the shelves leaned inward like they were eavesdropping. The shop was closed, lights low, only the desk lamp on the rolling cart throwing a soft circle over us. "Careful," she said, as I lifted the first box. "The bindings are older than they look." I nodded, though my hands were steady. I liked having something to do with them. She stood too close as I worked, arms crossed, weight shifting from one foot to the other. Up close, I could see the fine lines near her eyes. Not tired exactly, just lived in. Her hair was pulled back loosely, strands escaping at the temples. She tucked one behind her ear and missed. Let it stay. She was different tonight. Quieter. Not distant, exactly, guarded. Like she'd put something back on after forgetting to wear it the first time. We worked without talking for a while. Books passed from box to cart. Titles murmured under her breath as she checked them off, a habit I'd noticed. When she laughed, once, at a ridiculous inscription, it came out short, surprised, like it had slipped past her before she could stop it. She covered it with a cough and kept going. "You don't have to stay." she said finally, not looking at me. I know. She nodded. Another pause. The lamp hummed. My shoulders brushed hers as I reached for a stack, and she stiffened, not pulling away, just holding still. I stepped back immediately, embarrassed by how aware I was of the space I'd taken. My hands shake when I'm tired, she said suddenly. She held them out, palms down. They barely trembled, but I saw it. Or maybe I wanted to. It's stupid. It's not, I said too fast. Then softer. You've been up a lot. She gave me a look, measuring, almost amused, and lowered her hands. You notice things. I shrugged. You leave clues. That got a real smile, brief and gone. She leaned against the shelf, exhaled, and for a moment her shoulders dropped, like she'd set something down. The lamp caught the silver at her temples. I wondered when it had appeared. I wondered who else had been here to see it happen. She reached for a book and missed the cart. It slid, nearly falling. I caught it, our hands colliding, firmer this time. She didn't pull away. Her fingers were warm, dry, the grip careful but sure. She looked at our hands like they belonged to someone else. Sorry, she said. It's okay. We stayed like that a second too long. The shop felt too quiet, like even the shelves were holding their breath. Then she let go and stepped back, clearing her throat. We should finish, she said. We did. But when I left, I carried the image of her hands out into the street with me. The way they'd hesitated, the way they'd stayed, and it followed me all the way home. The storm came in sideways, the kind that makes the streetlights blur and the windows rattle like they're unsure of themselves. I almost didn't go in that night. Almost told myself it would look like I was waiting for something. But the bell rang anyway, and there she was, coat still on, keys in her hand like she hadn't decided whether to stay either. Power's been flickering, she said. If it goes, we close. Okay, I said. I'll leave if you ask. I didn't say that part. We ate at the counter in the back, take-out cartons she'd picked up and forgotten about until the smell reminded us. No candles, no music, just the low thrum of the heater and rain hitting the roof in uneven bursts. She sat on the stool across from me, sleeves rolled, fingers wrapped around a paper cup like it was anchoring her. You don't have to make it awkward, she said after a while. I wasn't trying to. I know. A pause. That's the problem. She smiled when she said it, but it didn't reach her eyes. I watched the way she chewed slowly, thoughtfully, like she was giving herself time. I wanted to tell her I wasn't expecting anything, that I could handle not being seen. I didn't trust myself to say it right. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it and went still. Didn't pick it up. The screen lit her face from below. Too bright, too revealing. Then it buzzed again. She stopped. Exhaled through her nose. Sorry. It's fine, I said. I'm in it matters, and it doesn't at the same time. She answered, turning away slightly, voice low. I caught pieces. A name. A tired laugh that didn't sound like laughing. No, I told you, silence. Her shoulders tightened. I'm at work. Another pause. Yes, I know. I stared at my hands, the grease from the food smudging my fingers, and felt something settle heavy in my chest. Not jealousy exactly. Something quieter. Like realizing there were rooms in her life I couldn't even knock on. She ended the call and didn't turn back right away. When she did, she looked older, not in years, just in weight. Sorry, she said again. This time it meant something else. You don't have to explain. I know. She studied me. That's generous. The lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then steadied. She laughed softly, more relief than humor, and leaned back against the counter. I stood too, without meaning to. The space between us shrank until it felt deliberate. Can I tell you something? She asked. Yes, I said before thinking. She hesitated. Her eyes dropped to my mouth, just for a second. Long enough. Then the bell rang at the door. Someone trying the handle, rattling it impatiently. A neighbor, maybe. Or just the storm. Mara stepped back, the moment folding in on itself. Another time, she said. I nodded, even as my hand lifted slightly, like it might reach for her sleeve if I let it. I didn't. The storm kept going, and so did we, separately for now. The power didn't go out, but something else did. It was late enough that the street had emptied, the rain reduced to a steady, patient drizzle. I was shelving returns when I realized she hadn't moved in a while. Mara stood by the front window, lights dimmed low, watching the reflection more than the street. Her arms were folded, but not defensively, more like she was holding herself together. "You're pacing," she said without turning around. "I'm shelving," I replied. She smiled faintly. Didn't argue. That was worse. I finished the row slowly, every book placed with unnecessary care, and waited. The silence stretched until it felt intentional, like she was testing whether I'd fill it. I didn't. When I finally joined her near the window, we stood side by side, not touching. Our reflections hovered close in the glass, almost convincing. "This can't keep feeling like this," she said. I swallowed. "Like what?" She turned then, looked directly at me. No humor this time. No deflection. "Like I'm holding my breath every time you walk in." The words landed heavier than if she'd shouted them. I felt my chest tighten, my instinct to step back fighting the urge to stay exactly where I was. "I don't want to make this anything," she continued. She stopped, pressed her lips together, started again. "I don't recognize myself lately." I nodded slowly, because if I spoke too quickly I'd say the wrong thing. Or the truest one. "We don't have to do anything," I said. "We can just keep working." She let out a quiet, broken laugh. "That's the lie, isn't it?" Her eyes searched my face, not for reassurance, but for honesty. I gave it to her, even though it scared me. "I think about you when I leave," I said. "And I hate that I do. Because I know it's not fair. And I know you didn't ask for it." She closed her eyes. Just for a second. When she opened them, they were wet but steady. "I'm tired," she said. Not the kind sleep fixes. We stood there, the space between us heavy with everything we weren't touching. The shop felt smaller than ever, like the walls had leaned into here. Outside, a car passed, tires hissing over wet pavement, and then the street was empty again. "I don't want to hurt you," she said quietly. Something in my chest shifted. "I think," I said, choosing each word carefully, "we already are." Just slowly. That did it. Her composure cracked, not dramatically, just enough. She leaned her forehead against the window, glass cool against her skin, and breathed out. "I should have noticed sooner," she said. "I should have stopped this before it started." I didn't move, didn't reach for her. That felt like the only mercy I had left. She turned back to me, eyes searching, voice barely there. And now I don't know how to walk away without losing something I didn't mean to need. The shift didn't announce itself. It slipped in the way dust does, quiet, settling on things I thought I already knew. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. The shop closed, the air stale from heat we couldn't quite push out. I was helping her move a cabinet in the back room, the kind that never really fits anywhere. We argued about angles and low voices, both pretending it mattered more than it did. When it finally slid into place, she laughed, breathless, genuine, and then stopped short, like she'd remembered something she hadn't meant to. "Hold on," she said. I forgot. She went to her bag and pulled out her phone, thumb hovering for a second before she tapped the screen. "I was supposed to delete this," she added, not to me exactly. More like to the room. She didn't hand it over. Just set it on the counter between us, like an offering she might still take back. It was a voicemail. Old, judging by the date. Years ago. The sound was faint at first, then clearer. A man's voice, calm, affectionate in a way that didn't try to impress. He was apologizing for missing dinner, promising to make it up to her, saying her name the way people do when they expect to keep saying it for a long time. She watched my face while it played, not to measure jealousy, to see if I understood. "He died," she said quietly, before the message ended. "Car accident. 2 years after we split. We were complicated." "I'm sorry," I said. It sounded small. It was all I had. She nodded once. "I don't listen to it often. Just when I forget why I don't let things start." The message ended with a soft laugh from him. The phone went dark. The silence afterward felt louder than the storm had been that night. "I didn't know," I said. "You weren't supposed to." She picked up the phone, turned it over in her hands. "You look at me sometimes like you expect something. Like you still believe in outcomes." That stung more than I expected. "I don't expect anything." She met my eyes. "That's not true." I wanted to argue. Instead, I noticed the way her fingers shook. Not much, just enough to matter. I reached out without thinking and steadied her wrist. Not holding, just there. She didn't pull away. He used to do that, she said softly, when my hands wouldn't behave. I froze, ready to let go. She covered my hand with hers instead, grounding us both. Her palm was warm, familiar in a way that felt unfair. I'm not him, I said carefully. I know, she replied. That's what scares me. We stood there, not close enough to touch anywhere else, but connected all the same. Outside, a bus groaned past, ordinary life continuing without noticing us at all. She let go first, stepped back, smiled, not sad, not relieved, just real. Thank you for listening, she said. I nodded, my chest tight. As I left, I realized the voicemail hadn't pushed me away. It had placed me somewhere closer than I was ready for. The collapse wasn't dramatic. No breaking point, just a slow giving way, like something held too long finally being set down. It was early evening, the shop still open but quiet, the kind of hour where people drift instead of browse. Mara closed the register and didn't turn the sign yet. She sat on the low stool behind the counter, shoulders sloped, eyes unfocused. I stayed where I was, pretending to straighten a stack that didn't need it. You don't have to hover, she said gently. I'm not, I replied. She smiled at that. Tired. Real. Come sit, she added, patting the space beside her on the bench we never used. I did. Not close. Close enough to feel the warmth of her through the wood. For a while, we said nothing. The shop breathed around us. Air conditioner clicking on, a truck passing outside, the familiar smell of paper and glue. I realized how rare it had become to be in the same room without bracing for something. I keep thinking there should be a rule, she said finally. Something clear I can point to and say, that's why this is wrong. And there isn't. I asked. She shook her head. There are reasons, but no rule strong enough to end it cleanly. I stared at my hands. If you want me to go, really go, I will. I know. She glanced at me. That's not what I want. The honesty of it landed hard. Not thrilling. Not terrifying. Just heavy and true. I'm not asking for promises, she said. I don't even know what this is allowed to become. I just don't want to keep pretending it's nothing. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Me neither. She leaned back against the counter, eyes closing for a second, like the admission had cost her more than she'd expected. When she opened them, she didn't look younger or freer. She looked settled, decided. I don't want to repeat old patterns, she said, or make you responsible for fixing what I broke years ago. I'm not here to fix you, I said quietly. I'm here because I am. She turned toward me then, really looked. The space between us felt different, not charged, not dangerous, just shared. Her hand slid across the bench until her fingers brushed mine. She paused there, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. She rested her forehead briefly against my shoulder, not leaning, not clinging. Just there. I felt her exhale, slow and deliberate. I stayed still, letting the moment be exactly what it was. After a while, she straightened and squeezed my hand once before letting go. We'll take this slow, she said. I nodded. As slow as it needs. She reached for the light switch and dimmed the shop, then turned the sign to closed. When we stood, nothing rushed us. No kiss. No promise. Just the quiet understanding that whatever had been circling us had finally found a place to land. And for the first time since I'd known her, the silence didn't feel like something we were avoiding. It felt like something we were choosing, together. I'm writing this from the same table where it started, though the shop looks different now. Or maybe I do. The shelves are a little neater. The lights feel warmer. There's a rhythm to the place that didn't exist before, like something learned how to breathe properly. What changed wasn't loud. There was no moment I can point to and say that's when everything became clear. It was more like waking up one morning and realizing the ache you'd grown used to wasn't there anymore. Not gone, just quieter. Managed. Understood. Mara still works the back most days. I still take the front. We don't sit as close as we could. We don't explain ourselves to anyone. What we have doesn't need witnesses to exist. It shows up in smaller ways. The way she sets aside a book she thinks I'll like without saying why. The way I lock up now without waiting for her to tell me to. The way silence stopped feeling like a test. I used to think love was about urgency, about wanting something so badly it pulled you forward whether you were ready or not. I thought if it didn't hurt, it wasn't real. That if it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't worth chasing. I was wrong. What I learned, slowly, imperfectly, is that real connection doesn't rush you. It asks you to pay attention. It makes room for who you already are instead of who you're pretending to be. It doesn't promise outcomes. It offers presence. Mara didn't become softer. She became truer. She laughs more easily now, but she also rests when she's tired. She doesn't apologize for needing space, and she doesn't disappear into it either. Watching her choose herself without shutting the door, that taught me something I didn't know I needed to learn. As for me, I stopped waiting for permission to feel things. I stopped confusing patience with silence. I learned that restraint isn't about denial, it's about respect. And that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay, even when leaving would be easier. We never said the word people expect. We didn't have to. What we built didn't need naming to be real. It just needed honesty and time and the willingness to sit with uncertainty without trying to escape it. Some nights, when the shop is quiet and the city settles into itself, we sit on that unused bench behind the counter. Not touching, just close enough. And I think about how easily this could have gone wrong. How many ways there were to ruin it. Instead, we chose to listen. And that choice changed everything. If this story made you feel something, let me know in the comments. Would you want more stories like this?